Imagine you're walking through life, and you've got this person by your side, a friend, a family member, a colleague. Everything seems fine, but something feels off. It's like there's a shift in the air, a slight change in their behavior that makes you uneasy. You try to brush it off, but deep down, you can't ignore the feeling that something isn't right. Have you ever felt that way? Like there's someone close to you who might secretly harbor negative feelings? Maybe it's someone who's always been there for you, but now they're distant, maybe even cold. You start wondering, what happened? What did I do wrong? You're not alone. Carl Jung, the famous Swiss psychiatrist, talked about the darker side of human relationships. He had a theory about the unconscious mind, how it shapes our behavior, and how it sometimes makes us act in ways we don't even fully understand. But here's the thing, sometimes those feelings, the ones that we try to keep hidden, can slip through the cracks. Even someone you care about deeply might secretly harbor resentment, envy, or even hate. They might not even know it themselves, but their actions will speak louder than words. So, how do you spot the signs? Let's dig in. At first, it might seem small. A sarcastic comment here, a cold shoulder there. You might brush it off. Maybe they're just having a bad day, you think, but as time goes on, these small signs start to add up. The things they say to you are sharp, like daggers hidden in the softness of their words. Every time you bring up something important to you, they dismiss it, almost like it doesn't matter to them. You start to feel like an outsider in your own relationship. The warmth you once felt fades, replaced with a chilling indifference. You wonder if it's all in your head, if you're imagining things. But as Jung would say, the unconscious mind can be tricky. It has ways of leaking through the surface without us even realizing it. One of the biggest signs someone close to you secretly hates you is that they start making you doubt yourself. Ever notice how some people seem to find joy in pointing out your flaws? Or maybe they've got a knack for making you feel small without even saying it directly. They'll question your decisions, make you second-guess everything you do. The more they do it, the less confident you become. The worst part is, it's often so subtle that you might not even realize how much it's affecting you. But there's more. Have you ever been around someone who just doesn't seem to listen to you? You share your thoughts, your feelings, but they're never fully present. It's like they're physically there, but emotionally, they're checked out. They don't engage with what you say, and they might even change the subject quickly, as if to avoid what you're really trying to communicate. It's not about being busy. It's about a deeper, almost instinctual disinterest. Jung would say this might be a sign of a deeper, unconscious detachment. They've already decided that you're not worth their emotional investment. And then there's the body language. Oh, this one's tricky. Words can lie, but body language doesn't. Have you noticed how someone can smile and tell you everything is fine, but their eyes don't match the smile? Or how they stand with their arms crossed whenever you're around, creating this invisible wall between the two of you. Or maybe they avoid eye contact altogether, as if looking you in the eye is too much of a challenge. These are all signs of subtle hostility. When someone can't look at you or can't stand near you, it's not a coincidence. Their body is reacting to feelings that their words can't hide. Then there's the passive-aggressive behavior. You know, the comments that are wrapped in sugar, but taste like poison. Oh, I didn't think you'd be into something like that, they might say, all while pretending it's just a harmless observation. But you feel the sting. It's the kind of comment that feels like a jab, but no one can really call it out. It's the perfect way to show their displeasure, without ever having to own up to it. Jung might argue that this is a defense mechanism, way for someone to project their negative feelings without acknowledging them directly. It's safer for them that way. But what happens when they stop supporting you? People who secretly hate you won't be there when you need them the most. They might give you empty promises or vague responses when you ask for help. I'll try, or we'll see, is as much as you get. But in reality, they have no intention of being there for you. You start to realize that their support was never as solid as you thought, and that realization can be a bitter pill to swallow. Now, let's take a moment to think about how these things make you feel. It's like a slow burn, right? You're starting to feel confused, hurt, even angry. You don't understand why they're acting this way, but something tells you that it's not just a temporary phase. It's been happening over time, and it's not going away. That's when you realize you're not crazy. These signs aren't just coincidences. They're red flags that something deeper is at play. Carl Jung might say that this is the shadow side of their personality creeping out. The shadow is a part of us that holds the things we don't want to acknowledge: our anger, our jealousy, our insecurities. And when someone is close to you, sometimes their shadow side gets triggered by something in you. Maybe it's envy, maybe it's resentment, but whatever it is, it's now manifesting in their behavior. As these signs continue, the emotional distance between the two of you grows. You're no longer the person they turn to for support, and they're no longer someone you can trust. The emotional connection starts to feel hollow, like you're both just going through the motions. There's a gap that wasn't there before, and it's not something you can easily fix. This emotional withdrawal can be tough to process. It leaves you wondering, why? What did I do to deserve this? But the truth is, it's not always about you. Sometimes, it's about them, about their unresolved issues, their internal struggles. They might not even know why they feel this way. Jung would argue that many people act out of unconscious motives, influenced by past experiences, unprocessed emotions, and inner conflicts they haven't dealt with. So, how do you handle this? How do you deal with someone who is subtly but persistently pushing you away, even though they're supposed to be close to you? The answer isn't simple, but recognizing these signs is the first step in understanding what's going on. Understanding the behavior gives you clarity. You don't have to have all the answers, but you deserve to know when someone's not treating you right, and why. Let's talk about the next phase of this story, the one where you start to take control. What happens when you finally realize that someone close to you is harboring these feelings? What do you do when you're faced with the cold truth that maybe, just maybe, they secretly hate you? Now that you've noticed the signs, you begin to question how to proceed. There's a heavy weight hanging between the two of you, and you're not sure how to move forward. The first step is acknowledging the reality of the situation. They might not be aware of their own behavior. Or worse, they might be too afraid to confront their feelings. Either way, you have a choice to make. Do you confront them directly, or do you distance yourself and let time reveal the truth? Let's look at confrontation first. This can be tricky because, remember, they might not even realize the extent of their resentment. Confronting them about their behavior might feel like you're opening a can of worms. But it also gives you the chance to clear the air. The challenge here is to do it in a way that's calm and non-accusatory. You don't want to trigger a defensive response. Instead of saying, "You've been treating me horribly," you might say, "I've noticed a shift in our relationship, and I'm feeling a little distant. I just wanted to check in and see if everything is okay." By keeping the focus on your feelings and offering them a chance to explain, you create space for a more constructive conversation. But the truth is, not everyone is open to this kind of dialogue. Some people may shut down completely when confronted, especially if they've been harboring negative feelings for a long time. And that's where distancing yourself comes into play. By taking a step back, you give them space to reflect on their actions, or maybe even recognize their unconscious behavior. You also give yourself the space to heal, without constantly wondering where you stand. But here's the thing. Distancing yourself doesn't mean cutting them off completely, unless that's necessary for your well-being. It's about setting boundaries. You can still care for someone, but you don't have to let them hurt you. Setting boundaries is a form of self-respect. It's about showing them that you won't tolerate disrespect or emotional manipulation, and that you deserve better than passive-aggressive behavior and cold indifference. When you start setting boundaries, you might notice some interesting things. For one, they might react in ways you hadn't anticipated. Some might push back, testing your resolve. Others might be relieved, because their unconscious hatred has been allowed to manifest without consequence for so long. And that's where Carl Jung's theory of projection comes in sometimes. People project their own unresolved issues onto others, and when you stop being an emotional punching bag, it forces them to confront their own internal battles. But how do you stay firm when everything inside you is telling you to make things right, to fix the relationship? Well, it comes down to self-awareness. You've already identified the problem, and that's half the battle. The next step is understanding your own needs. You have to ask yourself, is this relationship worth saving? Is the person willing to acknowledge their actions and work on themselves, or are you just stuck in a toxic cycle? As you take time to reflect on these questions, you'll realize that your happiness and emotional well-being are in your hands. You can't force someone to change. You can't control their feelings or actions, but you can control how much you let them affect you. And that's powerful. It means that, no matter what happens, you're in charge of how you feel. You don't need anyone's approval to validate your worth. Your self-worth comes from within. It's in this space of self-reflection that you might start noticing patterns in your relationships. You might find that there is a tendency to attract people who project their unresolved issues onto you, or you might realize that you've been ignoring red flags for too long. Whatever the case, it's all part of the process of self-growth. Understanding how others affect you is an important step in understanding yourself. Now, let's take a deeper dive into why some people act this way. Why do they secretly harbor hatred, even when they're close to you? Carl Jung's concept of the shadow gives us some insight. The shadow is made up of all the parts of ourselves that we suppress, the parts we're ashamed of, the parts we don't want to face. These can be feelings like anger, jealousy, or resentment. And sometimes, when we don't deal with these emotions, they spill out onto others. It's not always about you. In many cases, the person who secretly hates you is struggling with their own unresolved issues. They might feel inadequate, jealous, or threatened by your success. Maybe you remind them of something they don't like about themselves. Or maybe they've experienced a betrayal or hurt in their past that they haven't healed from. And now, unconsciously, they project that pain onto you. This doesn't excuse their behavior, but it helps you understand it. Once you realize that their feelings are rooted in their own internal struggles, it becomes easier to detach yourself from their behavior. It's not about you, it's about them. And this understanding doesn't just help you make sense of their actions, it helps you stop taking their behavior personally. In fact, Jung might say that by reacting to their negativity, you're feeding into their shadow. The more you let their behavior affect you, the more power you give them over your emotions. But if you can separate yourself from their projections, you reclaim that power. You're no longer a passive participant in their drama. You're an active creator of your own emotional experience. So, as you move forward, you'll begin to notice the subtle shifts. Maybe you stop feeling the need to constantly explain yourself. Maybe you stop feeling guilty for setting boundaries. And maybe, just maybe, you start to feel a little lighter, a little freer, because you're no longer letting their unresolved issues hold you down. But the journey doesn't stop there. As you continue to grow, you'll start recognizing these same patterns in other areas of your life. You'll notice how the people around you, consciously or unconsciously, impact your emotional well-being. And with that awareness, you'll become more discerning about who you allow into your life, who you invest in emotionally, and who you need to let go. The process of understanding someone who secretly hates you is not an easy one. It takes patience, self-awareness, and, most importantly, self-compassion. You may not always get the answers you want from the other person, but the most important thing is that you've taken control of your own emotional journey. And in doing so, you've empowered yourself to move forward, free from the shadows of their negativity. Let us continue exploring the deeper layers of this dynamic and how you can protect your emotional well-being while navigating these complex relationships. As you continue to reflect on these subtle shifts, you'll begin to realize how much power you truly have over your emotional well-being. These signs of secret resentment from someone close to you may seem like small, imperceptible shifts at first, but with time and awareness, they become glaringly obvious. The key is to recognize these shifts early and not allow them to consume you. It's easy to get tangled up in other people's emotions, but the more you stand firm in your own understanding of who you are, the less their projections will affect you. As you move forward, you'll likely find that your emotional energy becomes more aligned with your own needs. You'll no longer seek validation from people who cannot give it to you. You'll learn to trust your intuition, to identify when someone is draining your energy, and to take a step back before things go too far. Self-care will become an essential part of your daily routine, because you know that protecting your emotional space is as important as protecting your physical space. As Jung would argue, understanding your own shadow and the shadows of others is an essential step in becoming whole. It's about embracing the parts of yourself that you might have rejected, and realizing that others' behaviors reflect more about them than they do about you. The moment you accept that, the moment you stop taking it personally, is when you start reclaiming your power. But it doesn't end here. As you become more aware of these patterns, you'll start noticing how much your relationships, whether personal or professional, affect your mental health. Your mental health, how easy it is to become consumed by toxic energy, and how important it is to surround yourself with people who respect your boundaries and understand your value. Your journey doesn't stop with recognizing someone else's negativity. It's about actively choosing the people who lift you up, who make you feel safe, and who share your values. And so, the next time you start to feel like something's off, trust that feeling. Pay attention to the way people make you feel. If you sense that someone close to you secretly resents you, or even hates you, don't ignore it. Recognize the signs, protect your emotional space, and don't be afraid to set the necessary boundaries. Your peace of mind is far more important than keeping someone in your life who doesn't truly value you. If you've learned something valuable from this, I want you to take action now. Reflect on the relationships in your life. Are there any red flags you've ignored for too long? Are there any patterns you've been missing? It's time to take charge of your emotional well-being. Don't let anyone dim your light. Start today by setting boundaries, embracing your worth, and aligning yourself with people who truly have your best interests at heart. If you're ready to dive deeper into understanding these dynamics to protect your mental health and to take the next step in your personal growth, I encourage you to subscribe to this channel, hit the notification bell, and join the conversation. Let's continue to explore, learn, and grow together. Take control of your life. Recognize the signs. Protect your peace.